Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. I thought I would do another of the week here for you because it has been a while since I've talked about any particular cryptids, and I wanted to make sure that I would at least, I guess, incorporate some of them within my videos here. I promise you I'm going to go back to the Cryptids and Monsters series once I finish these latest urban legends and then focus on a whole new set of them, maybe about 5 or so, for your viewing pleasure. This time, the random page within the cryptids.wiki.com location brought me to a very fascinating cryptid that apparently existed a long time ago. I mean, this is probably one of the earliest known cryptids yet, and it has to do with a cryptid that has very similar traits to some other animals that live today here on Earth. So the fact that its most famous characteristic isn't so strange at all makes us truly believe that this cryptid truly did believe or did exist. And I'm talking about is the cryptid known as the Bonnacon, which you're looking at a depiction of here. And by far its most unique characteristic, especially based on the picture you're looking at here, is the fact that it has the ability, or had the ability, because who knows if it's still alive. If it is, it hasn't been found anywhere yet, at least during its present day course. But its most unique ability was being able to turn around, and then either as an attack or maybe even as a defense mechanism, it would hurl its scat or its dung, basically its poop, straight at whatever its target is. And this dung had the characteristic of being very acidic, almost to the point where it was almost like people were on fire, apparently. So very fascinating stuff. So what is the Bonnacon? Well, the only known description really of the Bonnacon comes from a guy who lived a long time ago, and this is what tells us, at least as viewers, why this is one of the oldest cryptids yet. There is a guy by the name of Pliny the Elder, who you're looking at a drawing of here. He was at that time, and this is the year around 79, 77 AD, so we're talking a long time ago, almost 2,000 years back. He was a philosopher of sorts who also did a lot of work when it came to, I guess, talking about nature and botany and then other stuff within the animal world. And so what happened was he created a series of books called Naturalis Historia, which of course translates basically the natural history, and he created volumes of it, 37 volumes in fact, one of the most well-known examples of an encyclopedia. In fact, it influenced what we know as encyclopedias as of today. And within one of those entries he talks about the Bonnacon itself, and I'm going to read it to you here word for word, because what better way to describe it than from this particular passage. He says, there are reports of a wild animal in Paeonia, which was then Greece, called the Bonacis, which has the mane of a horse, but in all other respects resembles a bull. Its horns are curved back in such a manner as to be of no use for fighting, and it is said that because of this it saves itself by running away, meanwhile emitting a trail of dung that sometimes covers a distance as much as long as 3 furlongs, which comes to now about 604 meters, which is a long time. I mean, it's a long distance. Contact with which scorches a pursuers like a sort of fire. So there he is, this guy Pliny the Elder, describing a reported encounter with, or encounters with, this unique cryptid known as the Bonnacon. Ever since that time, though, it has not been spotted, because again, if it has, we would definitely be hearing about its very unique attack to this day. So whether it existed sometime back then and just died away, I guess, from natural let's say evolution, or whether it's still out there somewhere in this world just hiding around, who knows. It's supposed to resemble very closely the European bison, down to its, I guess, horns, down to its fur, down to its size, if but for the fact, of course, that it has that unique trait involving its dung. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, the reason why one would think that yes, this is a good chance that this creature actually existed, is because we have several animals today that utilize that very unique characteristic as well. I mean, one has to only look at your average skunk to realize that yes, there are animals that utilize some form of bodily function as a form of attack. I mean, a skunk can easily just turn around and spray it's not it's unique potent, I guess, urine. It's not acidic, but it definitely packs quite a punch, and it can spray it for a long distance. And then when that happens, of course, it does its job. Either it's mostly, of course, for defense, but if it has to do an actual attack, then it definitely gets the job done. And then there's also, I mean, I've seen those wildlife videos, like your average hippo out there in the I guess African jungles. They have the ability to, not quite as, let's say, powerful as your average skunk, where it can go a long distance, but they do utilize some form of a dung or whatever they have coming out the backside, and they utilize it as a form of, I guess you could call it defense. It's more like intimidation of some sort. They turn around and then they spray that dung, and then they utilize that little tail of theirs to shoot it, I guess, longer distances, to try to, I guess, spray it towards a larger, I guess, impact. And so when that happens, then it kind of almost gets the job done, because no doubt this stuff also has a pretty bad, potent smell as well. So it's not very much of a stretch to think that there was probably a bison of some sort back then who lived probably there in Europe, maybe in Asia, that also had this ability. Now, as for the fact that it had the dung that was actually acidic, so much so that it could actually feel like someone was on fire, I don't know exactly about that. That's something else completely different. It could have that ability. I can't think of any nature, like let's say animal in nature now, that has something like that, that is so bad that it's almost acidic. But if anyone has any similarities, please post those comments below. That would be great to hear as well. This guy, by the way, Pliny the Elder, I was reading his history. It's pretty fascinating too. Did you know that, for example, he died, or was like he was one of the victims of the volcano eruption that took away basically Pompeii and then another town called Herculaneum. This had to do with the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. He was caught in that because he was trying to rescue someone. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he was trying to rescue someone from that eruption. And when that happened, the location that he was at and the location where the person he was trying to rescue was at, there was a huge amount. I don't know if it's ash or some kind of smoke, but it circled and it came towards their city. And when that happened, he had a severe case of asthma. And so here he was trying to rescue someone, but it turns out that this asthma that he had completely just knocked him out. It was to the point where eventually, whatever that smoke was and whatever context it had, it completely just blew away his respiratory system, so much so that he ended up dying there. But at least his work lives on to today, 37 volumes of that natural history encyclopedia. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.